Instead of considering the one, we find men and women everywhere running helplessly and hopelessly in pursuit of the many things which they think will increase their happiness. Yet they wonder why they continue to suffer, why they are in financial distress, why they are weary and depleted, why they must earn their bread by the sweat of their brow. They wonder why they must endure a twilight existence only to face death as finality. The answer is that they judge by appearances. Because the majority of people are troubled, they rashly assume that trouble is inevitable. Because the majority of people die, they rashly assume that death is a normal and natural change. Because the majority of people are often angry, hostile, aggravated people, full of hate and misery, this condition is accepted as the rule for all mankind on this earth. It is, they say, the way the ball bounces. But during the next 2,000 years, all these delusions will be dispelled. As soon as the people from other planets are received by us in friendship, we will quickly realize that we, as Earth people, and as very, very stupid people, are much in the minority in this solar system. We will quickly realize that trouble is not a normal or a natural condition for evolving gods. Trouble is an anthesic condition brought on by the Earth people who have lost contact with their source, who have lost faith in God, and who have therefore lost all knowledge of how to spiritualize matter or transmute distress. They leave themselves helpless and at the mercy of matter, which they then feed, inflame, and imprison with hate, when all the while they should be loving matter into freedom. They thus poison the soil, the atmosphere, and their own bodies with hate, openly inviting disease, disaster, and death. If God is a good God and perfect God, and man is made in his image and likeness, even to being endowed with free will, then why should imperfection be accepted? We were told to be perfect, even as our Father in heaven is perfect. We should busy ourselves calling forth perfection, impressing it upon suffering matter, so that matter can send forth the radiant energy of love rather than a vibration of pain. Man has misused his free will, has misspent his God-given energy, and has filled the earth with monstrous miscreations entirely of his own making, because he has been willing to accept imperfection. He has not asked for help from his ever-present source, but has gone ahead on his own, bereaved and alone and sorrowful, trying constantly to improve his lot by exchanging one imperfection for another, which he hopes will prove slightly less imperfect. Man has attempted to build entire complex civilizations by using judgment based on appearances. Now science comes forward, following the power-crazed war machine in a frenzied pace to keep up with things as they appear to be, or as the misguided scientists and politicians think things ought to be. The bewildered public is told that this is progress. Exactly since when has progress been based on fear, the one and only weapon available to the dark forces? So while the dark forces entrenched in science are busy creating imperfect systems to booster up already imperfect systems, our hearts need not be troubled. We can turn abruptly from this negative point of view and look upon the positive surge toward perfection which is now rapidly engulfing the human family. We can happily see now how the whole world of appearances will vanish within the transmuting power of the fiery cleansing force, which is here upon us, and the fire is the violet flame. This joyous Aquarian age, in all its glorious fulfillment, has been anticipated for thousands of years, for those who guide the cosmos know exactly when certain rays will swing in and out of manifestation. Of course, all the rays have been in manifestation many times during the last 19 million years. But it was only in 1957 that Sanat Kumura had accomplished his great purpose of having humanity ready for the present cleansing, and his preparation was timed to fit in with the waning and waxing of the 6th and 7th rays. The entire Piscean age, ushered in by the birth of Jesus, was but a preparation for the Aquarian age. It might appear that little was accomplished during the past 2,000 years, but this is not correct. Jesus said, "Let not your heart be troubled." This injunction was disobeyed by tens of thousands, and today they are dropping dead from heart trouble. But many, many others did heed the gentle words and turned their hearts to the One. They stood steady in the light and served the light during the Piscean age, participating in the activities planned by the Christ forces. In this wise manner, the forces of light utilized every precious moment in preparing humanity for its present opportunities. The most outstanding opportunity before us now lies in our acceptance of the hand of friendship extended to us by our neighbors from other planets in our solar system, other solar systems, and from various stars in our galaxy. Because the Lord of Venus, Sanat Kumura, spent 18.5 million years on this earth in salvaging humanity, it is to be expected that the Venusians would take a most extraordinary interest in our welfare. The great message of cosmic import that the Venusians and others wish to convey to us today is identical with the universal truths demonstrated by Jesus in the West, by Gautama in the East, and by hundreds of other adepts around the world during thousands of past centuries. The outer world, under the atheistic influence of a global system composed of a mingled mishmash of opportunistic politics, expedient economics, and tyrannical churchianity, has failed to grasp these basic truths. But those who, in some embodiment during past centuries, have escaped from the suffocating restraint imposed by so-called authorities, and have turned to the kingdom of the untroubled heart within, have discovered their own center of God consciousness. They have evolved steadily into that consciousness which is the precious and rightful heritage of all men and women and children everywhere in the cosmos. The only difference between the people of this planet and the people on other planets lies in the degree of unfoldment which has taken place in the consciousness of the individuals. As soon as interplanetary communication is established on a worldwide scale, the Earth people will quickly realize that they have been very foolish indeed, to have wasted their time listening to so-called authorities of church and state, instead of communing with the still small voice of the One within their own beating heart. Since each individual is an evolving God on his way back to the source, it is never for an instant actually separated from that source. He only thinks he is alone. In truth and in fact, he is a complete universe within himself. He need look only to the One for guidance on the path of return to his home star. It is when he looks to his neighbors, his boss, his military leaders, his editors and educators, that he becomes confused, if they are confused. Usually it turns out that they are. Why? Because they too have failed to listen to the One. They have lost contact with their source. They themselves listen only to higher authorities, so-called, who in the final analysis consider themselves authorities simply because they have a stronger capacity to argue and spout double talk. Since this planet has now been released from planetary law and is to function for the rest of its lifespan under cosmic law, the subject of interplanetary communication has become of paramount importance.